We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about the Tennessee Innocence Project. Been around since 2019 here in the state of Tennessee. I guess one of the last states to get an organization like this. Many states do. I think it's an important thing. Jessica Van Dyke's with us and Jason Gichner, both legal counsel with the Tennessee Innocence Project, which keeps very busy. You have 12 active cases right now that you're representing, but that doesn't mean that you're not looking at a lot more beyond that. But it is a huge undertaking.
That's absolutely correct. These are complex cases that take years to litigate in many. Now, you know, if we're able to work with what is called a conviction review unit, that can sometimes expedite the process. But we only have one of those in the state of Tennessee, and that's
I'm sorry, here in Davidson County,
exactly.
Right? And you do, and explain, that's something District Attorney General Glenn Funk and his staff, you can bring what you found to his assistant DAs on that unit and present it to them. Because ultimately, it's his call maybe where he says, gosh, look at this. We're going to take steps right now to reverse this, right?
Yeah, I mean, think about it in terms of you can go to court and you can just file a motion on your own and you can litigate and it can be an adversarial process. Or if you truly believe that you have evidence that somebody's innocent, why wouldn't you present it to the district attorney's office? Because if the evidence is compelling and true, we found here in Nashville they're very open to listening to that, which is what they should do. And oftentimes we'll go to court together, we'll file a motion and say we believe we have compelling evidence of actual innocence. They've investigated it before we've ever got to court, and they can come into court and say, yeah, we've looked into it, this person is innocent.
Okay, in other counties then, do you still try, if you can, to go to the DA first?
We're always going to work in a collaborative process. We will always reach out to say, hey, we have this person. We think that there's compelling evidence of innocence. Will you work with us on this? But it may be that they don't want to do that, and we have to just go to through the judicial process.
Okay.
So we would love to have a conviction review unit, a meaningful conviction review unit in every county in Tennessee.
Let's take a quick call from Ann. Ann, good morning. Hello, Ann.
Good morning. First, let me thank you for the work you're doing for Tennesseans, because it's very important. But I'm a crime buff and I follow trials, and something that has always just bothered me is the fact that for families that can afford it, DNA was not around 25 years ago, and families that can pay for DNA testing are prohibited from using private funding for DNA testing. Can you explain to me why families are not allowed to pay for DNA testing in cases of innocence projects and in gaining or in attempting to find innocence in these cases? I've seen it over and over again where private citizens, in trying to find overturned cases, are prohibited from doing that, and I don't understand the reasoning behind it.
Okay, is that true? Because I'm not aware of that. I mean, TBA is not the only one that can do DNA testing. So
it's not just a matter of DNA testing, Nick, and thanks, Ann, for the call. I mean, part of what's going on is that when you're at this stage in the game, when somebody believes they have evidence that they're innocent, and they've gotten through their trial, their appeal, their post-conviction, they're not entitled to counsel anymore. So most of these folks out there, unless they can afford to hire counsel, which is really a small percentage of people that are serving life sentences, not only can they not pay to get their DNA tested, they don't even get to have a lawyer. I mean, when we're representing folks, if we want to go back and have DNA tested in the case, we have to petition the court for the right to go test that DNA.
Okay.
So put aside the money for a second. Imagine somebody that's serving a life sentence that's trying to navigate post-conviction law in Tennessee to go back before a court where they're not entitled to a lawyer to ask to test evidence that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
It's a daunting process. And, you know, one thing we're lucky about is that this is something that the state does care about. You know, we do have the ability to go back and test DNA. The state legislature passed a similar bill that allows us to go back and test fingerprints. Because she's right. I mean, everybody should care about this. If there's physical evidence out there that has never been tested in a case that is going to prove that somebody is innocent, we should all want to know what that is. And you know, the other way, if you do the DNA testing and it proves you got the right person, well, everybody's going to be happy about that too.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just common sense, isn't it? Isn't it?
But that is part of the reason that we needed an innocence organization, because if you're lucky enough, you've been convicted, you've found guilty of a crime, your family may not have money, you're in prison, to hire an attorney. In Tennessee, attorneys are paid a maximum of $2,000 to work a case that could take years. There's no funds for investigators, no funds for expert witnesses. So we needed an organization that could really tackle these cases. And as Jason said, the process is daunting.
I guess just before we've got another call we'll take, but so where does the funding come from for you? I mean, neither of you are getting rich doing this. I mean,
we're a 501c3.
Okay, so it's donations. You get donations, and I think when you solicit donations or get it out there, I mean, does the public understand the importance of what? Do you think they have a handle on the importance? I just think, gosh, one of these days I may be wrongly convicted of a crime, and I'm going to be counting on you guys.
Look, I think we're doing all we can to get the message out there.
I know.
You know, we appreciate you having us on the show so people can learn about what we do. You know, to me, that's the most important thing, is that people understand that this really is an issue in Tennessee. This really does happen, and there are folks that need the help. And, you know, when people learn about this, I mean, this is an apolitical issue, right? I mean, everybody should care about this. And our experience is that when people learn about it, everybody does.
Yep. Let's take a call from Stacy. Stacy, good morning. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Nick. I was a little confused because I was getting screened a second time, and I don't think I've ever veered off in anything that was inappropriate.
No, you're fine. You were just the second call. Ann always calls in first, but you're up next. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I want to shout out to Ann. She's a fellow graduate of the Davidson County Sheriff's Citizens Academy.
Yeah, that's great. That is a great program.
She may be interested in what I have to say, and I'd like to know. I'm not veering off from the topic. As you know, I was involved in a civil matter, and where there is nothing equivalent to the Tennessee Innocence Project. Although I did want to ask them, because I understand. Well, I know at one time when I was going through this process that there was an organization. It was not legal aid. I'm not even eligible for legal aid, but they will help you if you're not currently in litigation. And since I'm not currently in litigation, I would like to speak with them again. If they're, I don't remember the name of it, and I don't even know if they're still in existence. And if they're not, I know that I guess it's through legal aid maybe or something. There was a grant given to I think you've actually had them on the program, Nick, that help seniors.
Yeah, I recall. But are you wondering whether or not there's something in place maybe to help someone like you with civil issues as opposed to criminal ones?
And I also wanted to make the point regarding that in civil issues, you don't have the same right. You don't even have a right to an attorney as you do in a criminal matter. And in my particular situation, I won't go over it again because you're aware of it. It involves the loss of my home and that fully paid for home and didn't owe any money and all of that because it was condominium. But what I wanted to say about that is that the justice system is weighed toward the unjustly treated in the criminal system, because the idea is, I guess, that in a civil system, the only thing you're going to be out is money, and that was certainly not true in my case.
I know. Let's give them a chance to comment. I think that's a great point. I mean, did you have a thought on that? I know you basically handle criminal stuff, right? But I mean, I'm just wondering. She brings a different perspective, civil issues, and in a way, she's maybe right. It's not, civil issues can go beyond just money. But with you guys, you're talking about someone's freedom. But any thoughts for her in terms of getting help with civil issues?
I can't speak. Jason may be able to speak to the civil issues.
Okay.
I mean, what I would say is, you know, we do want to make sure innocent people are not behind bars. When you lock up an innocent person, you're not just locking up that one person. It's their entire family. So, you know, the other thing I would say is that technically, after you've been convicted, oftentimes we do make sure that people have attorneys, but there's no guarantee after you're convicted that you're going to have an attorney appointed to represent you. And so that's why providing services for people, just reading their letters, making sure that they're heard, making sure that they haven't been forgotten is really important.
Any thoughts for Stacey in terms of she's dealing with a civil issue?
Sure. I mean, what I would tell her is that it sounds like she's already tried to reach out to the Legal Aid Society, which is a really good organization. I do know that they have a partnership where they do pro bono work with attorneys in town. There are a lot of really good civil attorneys in town that want to do pro bono work, that want to help, that don't always know the best way to reach out. So what I would encourage her to do is, even if she doesn't qualify for legal aid services, maybe they can put her in touch with some attorneys that have shown an interest in doing pro bono work that might be able to look at her case for her and help her.
Gotcha. Let's take a call next from Linda. Linda, good morning. Hi, Linda.
Good morning. Kind of a statement question. This would impact the family. A person was convicted of sex crime against a child and spent 15 years in prison. Now, I have heard that there is the possibility of someone like this having their sentence expunged, which is different than the exonerated. What are the chances of a person that has done this getting their record expunged? And what can the family do to keep this from happening? He actually said yes when he got out of prison. He proudly said, yes, I did it, and I spent my time, and now I'm out. But we're just afraid he's going to go for expungement.
So again, Jason can weigh on this, but my understanding of expungement law in Tennessee is that there are not very many sex offenses that are eligible for expungement.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So, I don't know the details of this case, but I think that's oftentimes determined by what the law says can be expunged. And there aren't a lot of sex crimes that they allow that to happen.
No, that's what I was going to say. I just don't see that happening for him.
And I think it's also important to point out the distinction between expungement versus exoneration. When we're talking about exoneration, the folks that we represent, we're talking about people who are innocent, who were wrongfully convicted. And if we all agree that somebody is innocent and was wrongfully convicted, of course their rights should be restored. What the caller is asking about is somebody that has served their sentence and asking to have a crime taken off their record.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's very clear laws on the type of crimes that are eligible for that and the type of crimes that are not. It sounds like the type of crime she's asking about is likely the type of crime that is not eligible for that.
Well, what are the other terms? You seek exoneration for those who are innocent. Sometimes you hear it referred to in other ways. I mean, exoneration means this person didn't do it. Is there a middle ground there where maybe they're, as I was saying before, they're getting rid of the charges, but they're not admitting that the individual didn't do it?
I don't know that there's a term for that.
Is there something else called that? Okay, I don't know why I was thinking that.
You could vacate a conviction, right?
Yeah.
So
maybe that's it. Like, okay, is there a difference between exoneration and vacating a conviction?
Not necessarily, because if somebody is exonerated because they're innocent, then the procedural thing that happens is that you vacate their conviction.
And to vacate a conviction, it would have to be, they're innocent, or are you vacating a conviction? It turns out we didn't really have enough evidence to convict them. Which is a difference in my mind.
I think it helps to look at what the legal standard is.
Yes, okay.
So the legal standard to have a conviction vacated in the context where we work is that we need to show that somebody is actually innocent.
Gotcha.
So there needs to be a finding from a court that a person is actually innocent for them to vacate the conviction and do what we're asking the court to do.
Very clear. All right, we'll take a break on that note. Boy, this is interesting. This is really interesting. I can see why you do this work. Isn't it interesting?
We're very fortunate.
Yeah, it's a neat thing. Well, listen, we'll take a break. We'll be back. We have some more phone calls, more of our comment. We'll get into more about what the Innocence Project is doing right now, right after this. Stay with us.